What's up there, everybody? This is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Jazz Piano Fundamentals. Here's book 2, which is where we cover drop 2 voicings, which is relevant to this video. Here's Playing Solo Jazz Piano, another book that I wrote. And here is Solo Standards for Piano. You know, no tariffs on any of these books. I declare them tariff-free. But personally, I only ship within the US, so does it matter? Who can say? And we're going to continue this video series in which I am going through kind of the scope, everything that I know that I can think of jazz piano voicings. And so we're going to continue with drop 2. In the last video, which I think I incorrectly in the video said was number 13 in the series, but it's actually number 14. Maybe I'm incorrect now. We looked at how to harmonize a given melody with drop 2 voicings, and we used What a Difference a Day Makes as an example. And so let's see, I think I maybe still even have these first few measures up. Something like that, maybe something slightly better than that. But we are harmonizing a melody with drop 2 voicings. What I want to show you how to do now is how to comp using drop 2 voicings. And my apologies if you viewed the video on how to comp using closed position voicings. This is a very similar process. Closed position and drop 2, they're two similar ways to do basically the same thing. Okay, so what we're going to do if we want to comp on a tune, we'll of course use What a Difference Day Makes as an example. If we want to comp on a tune like this using drop 2 voicings, then what we have to do is invent a melody, because drop 2 voicings are used to harmonize a melody. So we need to start with a melody. And by the way, I probably mentioned this when we were doing closed position voicings. I recommend practicing alternating between an unharmonized melody and then harmonizing it. So let's just take the key of C, because everybody loves the key of C. A good exercise for you to do as you're working on this skill is to play a 4 or 5 note melody and then harmonize it. I'm going to just do it in like a C6 key for now. So maybe I'd play and then I'd harmonize in drop 2. Don't get too complicated here. One thing that's nice about drop 2 as compared to closed position, this is a little bit of a side note, but it's generally much more attractive to use a major 7th sound rather than a major 6th sound in drop 2. So for instance, in that last example, I was harmonizing a G. If I'm harmonizing that in closed position voicing, probably going to harmonize it with a C6. Because just having that half step between the 7th and the root isn't necessarily great. So we use the 6th instead. I could do that with my drop 2 voicing, but it's also lovely to do something like this, right? And if you've studied type A, B voicings, or some people call them stock voicings or rootless voicings, you'll notice that this is just exactly like a type A, C major 7th voicing. So in drop 2, it's a little bit easier to use some of these different colors. So that's a nice exercise. That was a sidebar, but that's a nice exercise to get you starting to think of, okay, I'm going to improvise a melody, then I'm going to harmonize that melody immediately using drop 2 voices. You could even try doing the same melody 3 times, once unaccompanied, once with closed position, once with drop 2. That'd be interesting. So if I'm doing something like What a Difference Day Makes, I really want to think about the melody and avoid playing with the melody, because I'm making my own melody when I do drop 2, or maybe you could say I'm making a counter melody as I make my drop 2 voicing. So these are pickups, and then the melody kind of comes in that first half of the F minor 7 measure. So I'm gonna go 1, do. If you can hear rumbling, it's a really windy day. All right. So this is kind of interesting. The first three notes, I think, are easy to harmonize. This is just an F minor arpeggio. And it would be really useful to practice arpeggios with closed position and drop two. Because a lot of what we play in music is just arpeggios. So I'm going to harmonize these with kind of some very predictable notes of an F minor 7. Okay. And then we get to this, I'm going to skip the E flat for now. I'm going to go to the B flat 7. I'm going to put a flat 9, probably more correctly notated as a C flat, but forgive me, theoreticians, for I have sinned. I wrote a B natural. Now this E flat we could harmonize as F minor 7. Or it might be kind of fun to do a side step into our target B flat 7 chord. So I'm going to look for the notes a half step above, and we get kind of a diminished sound. And I might not want to hang out on that really low flat 9 for too long, so I'm going to kind of resolve this or float it up. Oops, that's not the correct beaming. So I'm going to flip that over to a G. Let's see. This is kind of a tricky one because I would love to include a dominant 7th. But that's going to be a note right up against the G. So let's see, if I were harmonizing it in closed position, I'd do it like that. And then I could bring down, yeah, that's pretty good if I bring down the second to the top note. So when in doubt, I always go back to closed position because it feels simpler. And this is a weird one. Drop 2 is usually a 10th between the two highest notes, between the highest and lowest notes. But here, well, let me finish saying, or it's a 9th, but here it's actually a 11th. And that's why I was having trouble finding it. And I should make this a C flat or a B natural to match the other one. Okay, so there's my first little phrase. So it's going to be do, do, dee, dee, da, do. Be, ba, dee, ya, dee, dee, do. So let's do something kind of fun here. Bottom. Bottom. So we'll do like a up to one note and then down to another note. So I'm going to harmonize this with drop 2 voicings now. Do something like this. Fun. So do bo di di da ba di da di da di da do. And notice I don't know if you heard it, I'm adding extra notes in my pinky and in my left hand in general. Even though it's not playing the melody, to me, this is still where all the ornamentation should happen. Boy, I moved slowly getting through this, trying to explain everything. It was only 4 bars. We're already 10 minutes of the video, but we're going to get these next 4 measures in. So, let's make this a little bit busier. Bottom. And I'm not trying to write the world's coolest melodies here. I'm just trying to put something that's going to complement the melody. Okay, so we've kind of seen this movie before. I'm just going to arpeggiate an F minor 7. And I don't need to do anything genius here. I don't have, there's no non-chord tones. These are all chord tones, and we know that because it's an arpeggio. But if I were gonna analyze, the second phrase, I would say that E flat needs to be treated as a non-chord tone. So when I think about non-chord tones, I want to put in a diminished chord, a diminished 7th chord, a sidestep, or a tonicization. The tonicization option is kind of interesting. We can think of it as like F7 leading back to B flat 7. And if we do that, we could have a third, a flat 9, and then a flat 13. That's kind of interesting. I think it's fun. And notice again, I'm putting an extra little ghost note down here, just to put a little spice on it. And let's see, what do we want to do here? Bam, ba-doo, bam. Let's do a fun F sharp. Doop, doop, doop. Boop, doop, doop, doop. I know I just got used to saying I don't need the most interesting melodies, but I think there's a lot of space here. Not a lot going on. So let's see. We got a few non-chord tones here. F sharp, the C flat. So let's harmonize the chord tones first. So let's go ahead and let's harmonize this as E flat major 7, since we were just talking about harmonizing more as major 7s, fewer as 6 chords. And then this next B flat 7, I'm gonna harmonize with some alterations. I'm not quite sure about that C to B flat yet, but this part I think is kind of easy. If you watched the last video, I talked about a couple moments in which it's nicer to do drop 3 rather than drop 2, and the biggest one is when the root is in the melody of a major chord, because otherwise it ends up sounding like a minor 7th chord. So that's exactly what I did. That last one, if you actually analyze it, I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure, that's drop 3 rather than drop 2. And we can mix those in, and in general, people won't hear a difference. Actually, people would basically never hear a difference. All right, so let's do a side step. We haven't done that yet. So side step, everything's going to be just a half step away from the target note. So D is a half step away from E flat. On the bottom, A natural is going to be a half step away from B flat. C sharp, half step away from D. Cool, I dig it. I kind of want to treat these both as non-chord tones and do like a double tonicization. F, B flat to E flat. So I'm gonna do A flat, G, and I'll do kind of, that's still G flat, that's the D natural. Do 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 do. So you can hear that, you know, if you're comping in this way, it's going to be really different than comping, you know. Right, this is much more colorful, it's more melodic, more big bandy, more of a counter melody. So let me play these 8 bars that we composed together. I mean, honestly, let's be honest, I did most of the work, but you were here, you participated. And I'm going to terribly sing this. I am not a singer. So what a difference a day makes. 24 little hours. All the flowers. That's pretty cool. What a difference a day makes. 24 little hours. And the flowers. Right? Pretty good. So now all you have to do is be able to do that instantaneously with a lot of practice, a lot of reinforcement. Thank you for checking this out. If you like this, there's a bunch of info on this in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2. And in Solo Standards for Piano, the arrangement I Can't Give You Anything But Love, the 4th arrangement in here, has a lot of closed position and drop 2 kind of mixed together with some other solo piano styles. So I hope that you dig that. And thanks for watching. If you've watched this far, why don't you compliment me on my vocals? Nobody's ever complimenting me, so maybe in the comments you could tell me how great my singing sounds. That'll really be appreciated. I could use a self-esteem boost, frankly. All right, bye everyone.